Figure out systemically how to beat back policies that were disproportionately affecting multiple communities of color and low-income communities at the same time. We were all very good at fighting individual local battles, but some of the issues were systemic. They were citywide, they were statewide. They grew from policies that no one neighborhood could withstand amongst themselves, and we realized that the only way to beat these things back was to join forces. The red outlines show you are outlines of something called significant maritime and industrial areas. These are New York City waterfront plan, the coastal zone management plan, designated areas where, as you can tell by the name, significant maritime and industrial areas. The city encourages the clustering and concentration of heavy industrial uses. There's only 6 of these, and as you can see, they're all in our communities. They're in the South Bronx. In Brooklyn, they're in Newtown Creek, Brooklyn Navy Yard, Red Hook, Sunset Park, and Staten Island, the North Shore. In 2010, New York City began updating its waterfront revitalization program, and we thought now we have another shot at trying to reform these. But what we knew in 2010 was very different than what we knew in the late 90s, which was the issue of climate change. This slide shows you those same communities overlaid on what are storm surge projections by the New York State Office of Emergency Management. And as you can see, every single one of these areas is in an area that even the lightest nor'easter or tropical storm creates storm surge vulnerabilities for these communities. And when you're talking about the heaviest clustering of chemical uses, it's all smack in the path of storm surges, we believe that presents a clear and present danger for our communities.
I started working at this organization 8 years ago. Forgotten community, forgotten people. That's the way I saw it. I had been out to East Beach many times. I had never seen the Rockaways, and surely not as many public housing that I saw, 5, which consisted over 10,100 people. With that being said, during the hurricane, it was not so much the most vulnerable people. These were just people. Whether they were vulnerable or not, this climate change really devastated this community. How did it devastate this community? The storm surge really affected the boilers in New York City Housing Authority, and in doing that, they had to, from my knowledge, cut off the electricity, the heat. Doing that, it wasn't just Rockaways, it was public housing in Brooklyn, public housing in Staten Island. Issues or concerns mainly that are affecting the residents now is identifying the coordination of services that they got while they were under siege by the aftermath of the hurricane. And that was, there seemed to be no coordination between NYCHA, the city, the state, the federal, and on the ground agencies. Well, what didn't seem to be, there wasn't. There have been a number of task force that I have seen, and I haven't participated in any, I said my staff have come out to the Rockaways to address issues, and these task force, most of them are comprised of what we would call carpetbaggers. People that had never even been to the Rockaways before the storm and probably wouldn't come afterwards. Christine Quinn put together, and it's a special initiative for rebuilding and resiliency. And when I looked at the committees, what comprised the committees, I said, oh my God, if I go to this meeting, I won't even know what they're talking about. These were architects, engineers, people that understand rezoning. Well, why are you talking about rezoning? I thought we were cleaning up. I don't know who could best sit at the table to represent public housing residents on any of these committees. Now, the gentleman to my left, I don't even know if he remembers my name, but he... Oh, okay, I know. But he heads up a federal task force that had all the federal agencies putting together recommendations. From that, a trickle-down effect, but as we know, it should have been a bottom-up. But we'll let them go from the trickle-down, that there will be recommendations that are going to be made. Hopefully and prayerfully, as he said, once it gets to the point where it's at the local level, and I'm not quite sure what he means by local, but so I won't bash him. But when it gets to the local level, that there will be some representation from the residents' leadership in public housing.
CDBG grants are, many of your organizations are probably financed with them. For those that don't know, it is cash. cold, hard cash. And after 9/11, unfortunately, the process by how those grants went out to communities changed dramatically. The $16 billion, as it looks now, doesn't mean it's all going for New York. We have New Jersey here as well, and Connecticut. And also, some of it is a little backdated for disasters that happened as of 2011. So as much as we all are sitting here thinking, oh, $16 billion, we can work with that, the reality is that could get spread a little more thin than we'd like it to be. So we need to make sure that officials engage communities, regardless of which communities might be getting that money and how they'll get allocated. After 9/11, a couple of bad things happened, which was the Lower Manhattan Development Corporation was created that allocated the cash grants. It was a separate entity, one of these quasi-public-private entities. And Congress waived the requirement that the LMDC would have to have a public hearing. So, red flag number one, every now and then I'll probably do something like this. Red flag number one is there have got to be public hearings before CDBG funds are allocated. They cannot go after the same process they did with the Lower Manhattan money.